Welcome into the Huddle. We are in week 5, I want to say now.
Yes.
Week 5. We are committed to you every Friday morning. And it's Friday morning. Doug, how's it going?
Oh, it's going really well. How about yourself?
Just fantastic.
Did you just take a drink of water?
Just fantastic as I gulp down some Cascade Ice Coconut. They are not a sponsor, but fantastic drink.
We're working on it.
We are working on it as well. So, to start our show today, this day in sports, Doug, what happened?
We have a couple things. November 3rd, 1995, the Rose Garden, first game ever. It's pretty fun. I know we still like to call it the Rose Garden.
Oh, it slips out, yeah.
Not the Moda Center, but pretty cool. We weren't alive yet, so don't remember that personally.
But it's a great memory in Blazer history.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Also, 6 years before that, 1989, the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise kicked off their inaugural season with their first game. So, pretty cool.
Looky there. Looky there.
And then what else we got?
We have a birthday shout-out today. Drumroll, please. Happy birthday to Colin Kaepernick. What?
Oh.
Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, man. Touchy subject.
I might as well say the F word on there, right? I mean, happy birthday to a guy that should be on an NFL roster, and I hope will be on an NFL roster at some point.
I have to imagine he's gotta be.
Ryan Mallett is seeing time in the NFL as a backup quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Dude, he's trying to convince the Ravens coaches that he needs to play tight end to get playing time. And that's with Joe Flacco as their quarterback.
Right. Well, you have starters in the league like Josh McCown,
Who's the kid in San Beathard in San Francisco?
Dude, I don't even know.
I have no idea.
It's changed as of this week, but we'll get to that a little later.
Excellent.
But Colin Kaepernick should be on a team. Hopefully he'll be on a team here soon. He's got, the off the field thing, but he's still talented. You could even say the Texans would make a run at him now that Deshaun Watson is out for the season, but I'm sure they'll just roll with Tom Savage.
Unfortunately, he needs a job. He needs a job bad. So, let's get into it. We have a new World Series champion for the first time in their franchise's history. The Houston Astros defeated the mighty, not so mighty Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to catch the game, the final game. I was running around everywhere, but
because you're so busy.
I'm so busy. I heard the Astros played really well though.
Yeah, they did.
Pitching was good. So can't believe they held the Dodgers to 0 runs. I mean, that's a team that they've scored all season.
Yeah,
and they've scored all series, and you hold them to 0.
They had one.
Oh, my bad. Sorry,
Yep.
It was 5-0 when I last looked, and then ended up being 5-1.
Yep,
but either way, still holding them to 1. Really impressive.
Oh yeah, that lineup had scored runs all year, man. Hey, how about this for you? Little baseball trivia to test your knowledge right now. The Astros obviously won. Can you name the other 4, 5, 6 franchises, 7 franchises without a World Series title?
No way I could do that, but Mariners are one of them. I can tell you that just because they're trash. No, but can you give me the other ones?
Well, hold on one second. My browser just closed on me, so that's great. One of them is the Texas Rangers.
Okay. And how many years have they been in the league?
61.
Okay.
Or they've been around since 1961. Okay. Texas Rangers, San Diego Padres, Tampa Bay Rays, Milwaukee Brewers, Colorado Rockies, and the Washington Nationals, along with the Seattle Mariners.
Huh.
And the Nationals and the Mariners have never once appeared in the World Series.
That's actually surprising. I didn't think, for how long baseball's been around, that's surprising to me that so many teams haven't even been there, much less win the whole thing.
Now you know the pain of being a Mariners fan. And by the way, that just before you continue, that was the Washington Nationals before they were the Montreal Expos. So it's from like the 80s, 90s, all the way up until.
I mean, still that's a decent amount of time.
That's longer than we've been alive.
It's a good amount of time. Yeah. Well, and I don't know comparatively to other sports, other professional sports. It doesn't seem like that's consistent. How many teams did you say have never been to the World? Like never been? Is 6 or 7?
2. 2 teams have never been to the World Series. 7 have never won a World Series.
Okay, 7 have never won. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it would be interesting to see versus NBA, NFL. MLS is newer, so probably wouldn't consider that. But
yeah.
Just to see the difference.
Throw in the NHL too.
Yeah, you could definitely throw in the NHL.
Our pals up north. But let's go Nucks, baby. So let's talk about this real quick. Sports Illustrated in 2014 released a copy with George Springer on the cover that said, Astros World Series year 2017 World Series champions. And
you said that was in 2014?
In 2014 when they lost 100.
So was that like I never saw that, but is that like a prediction or is that like a question or like what
no, it was them. It was Sports Illustrated laying out what the Astros were doing and how they were rebuilding their franchise. And they had given them 3 years to win, and then they lost 100 games for 2 or 3 straight years. And then last year made the playoffs, and then this year, what do you know? They're the champs.
It does. Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Very cool.
Crazy stuff,
Very
right?
Cool. Oh man, they even put the throwback unis on him.
Mm-hmm. And
George Springer.
Well, that was, and you say George Springer. George Springer was on the cover of that, and he just so happened to be the World Series MVP. Hit 5 home runs in 7 games.
And did that tie or break the world? Or
tied.
That tied the record?
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
It's not bad. Give credit where credit is due. Sports Illustrated. I always loved Sports Illustrated. I mean, I had their SI Kids and their regular issues up until I was, 14 years old, 15 years old.
Yeah, you got the subscription to the swimsuit one too.
I think my dad took that from me actually.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, makes sense, right?
So
no hate, Troy, no hate.
Yeah, with that, you think they could do it again next year?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. I don't think
so.
I'm not aware of them losing any of their core guys.
Their core guys I think are there to stay, but in 2, 3, 4 years, you could see a shift.
That's the thing and that's going to be the same with the Cubs.
Yeah, because you can't pay all those guys, man.
No, you can't. I mean, you could, but that's a lot of money because there's no salary cap in baseball, so it's the whole money paying to athletes is much different in baseball. But definitely be interesting to see if they can follow up some sort of good playoff run next year. Maybe make it to the World Series again.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal with them. That's right. Our horn.
You want to wrap that up real quick?
Yeah, so they're just going to lose some veteran guys. Carlos Beltran, Cameron Maybin, Juan Centero, he's younger. Luke Gregerson, Francisco Liriano, and Tyler Clippard, all relievers. But they're not losing any of their core guys.
Okay.
You know, Correa, Altuve, Bregman, Keuchel. So anyway,
Very cool.
So we had, shifting gears here, we had quite a busy trade deadline a few days ago this week.
Which is very unheard of in the NFL.
Unusual. Usually trading in the NFL during the season at least is quite dormant.
Yeah, it is. It's not. It usually doesn't happen, especially with the names. These aren't NFL superstars, obviously, but they're individual teams. Solid foundation players.
Two of them, I would say, are upper tier. Top 75% of players. Players in the NFL. Like they're the number one option on their team, and Jay Ajayi and Kelvin Benjamin of the Dolphins and the Panthers. Now the Eagles and the Bills.
Right.
But so what I don't get, Doug, is why they would give up so little for these guys. Like the Eagles, or why they would want so little for these guys or get so little, because
so you're asking why
did Jay Ajayi get traded for a fourth rounder?
For a fourth round pick? Because there's no demand in the middle of the season for players like this. They don't teams are not there's like in the free agency you got 32 teams all looking at a running back. They're all looking at all the positions. So, there's demand for everyone. That's why every free agency the money is through the roof on how much money these guys are making. But trading is different because not every team is looking to trade for a running back. So you're only the Dolphins trying to trade Ajayi, they're only looking at a handful of teams. It's probably going to be 4 or 5, honestly. Yeah. And so they take the best offer because what we talked about, Jay Ajayi, it seemed like there was problems within the organization with him, not just like the performance on the field.
Definitely.
They had problems altogether that really they just needed to get him out of there. And they thought that a fourth round pick was worth it.
And I guess you could say that his performance did kind of propel him into a trade as well, since he was only averaging 3.2 yards per carry after averaging 4.7, I think, last year, 4.6.
Yeah, and the Dolphins aren't good, and they lost Ryan Tannehill to injury.
Which, if Tannehill's there,
that team might be different this year. They could have a winning record. It's different, but
and Ajayi might actually have better yards per rush.
Definitely, because the
Jay
defense
Cutler as your quarterback.
Well, the defense wouldn't be stacked in the box every time.
That's true.
So that hurts when you don't have a quarterback for running backs.
Totally.
Todd Gurley experienced that last year. So
and they have playmakers on the outside too.
Right.
Julius Thomas at tight end, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker. That's solid.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry might get traded. Obviously the trade deadline's passed, but they were thinking about trading him. Something interesting to bring up.
Sounds like it.
But going back to the fourth round pick that they gave up, that Philadelphia gave up for Ajayi. Jay Ajayi was a 5th round pick, so getting a 4th rounder.
Yeah.
Gets a player that has a bad morale in the organization, and you get a 4th rounder for him. You get some value. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I guess.
Running backs you can find out of thin air. So.
Yeah, right. Latavius Murray, 6th round pick.
Oh, stud.
Oh gosh, I know, right?
No, you look like
classic
David Johnson.
Yeah.
These guys are nobody's. Joe Mixon, if they gave him the ball 20 times a game.
Yeah. So
okay.
Let me stop you on your running back craze there. Let's move into the money makers.
Okay.
The quarterbacks. James Garoppolo gets dealt for a 2nd rounder, which is a lot more reasonable than a 4th rounder for a backup quarterback. to the 49ers who need some help, but it doesn't sound like he's going to play all that much in this week or throughout the year.
Do you know why that is?
It sounds like they want him to start learning the system more than playing, and they want him to be like, hey, I want to be here, I want to play since I know the offense, and maybe have him, play the last couple games of the year. But since they're 0-8, there's no point. But my thing is he's going to be I think he's in his last year of his contract as well.
Yeah, I think they should play him for sure. I think he needs to develop an on-field relationship with Kyle Shanahan before next year. Because these games don't matter this year. They're not going anywhere. Granted, if he plays, they could win a couple games that they wouldn't win otherwise. Yeah. And they would get a worse pick. So maybe they're hoping, they're on track to get the number 1 pick. So, maybe
Cleveland.
Okay, yeah, true, fair. But I think it's a great trade for San Francisco. Yeah. New England, they were stubborn about it for the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. But they spent a second rounder on him in 2013. I don't know, 2013, 2014.
14, yeah.
I loved him when they drafted him. I thought other teams should have taken him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But people looked at it and was like, "Oh, second round pick." And they're like, "What?" But I think he's going to be.
And go ahead, finish.
I think he's going to be really good in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan.
I think you're right.
Kyle Shanahan works well with quarterbacks, i.e.
Matt Ryan,
i.e. Kirk Cousins.
I mean, he leaves and Matt Ryan is average. And fall average.
He leaves Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is average. It's like I heard on Colin Cowherd. He's a guy.
He's a guy. He's not the guy.
He's a guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And before we move on, this is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady saying we're going out together.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Robert Kraft. Well, I don't feel bad for him at all, but I feel bad for the fans because there's nothing at backup quarterback now. You have Brian Hoyer.
Well, hey, they have a second rounder though.
They do. You're right.
Watch out, you never know. So, thirdly, Kelvin Benjamin, going to the Bills, did not play last night because he couldn't learn the playbook in time, which, I mean...
That's all too fitting. I guess
2-3 days to learn a playbook,
That's tough. I think that's probably... I mean, obviously I don't know from experience. But the Bills got
absolutely thrashed by the Jets, dude. After they looked so good against Oaktown this last weekend.
But, I mean, they just gave up a pick, though. They didn't give up a player that they were, losing on the field for Kelvin Benjamin.
Third and a seventh, I think, or fourth and a seventh.
Yeah,
third and
so,
seventh, fourth and seventh.
They weren't they didn't miss anyone on the field. They just, But he probably should have played, but...
And it wasn't him, it was their defense that looked awful.
Yeah. The thing about him, though,
McCown.
He's been known as being lazy and
Yeah.
Overweight and not, what's the word? Not in the right mindset.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. For games in Carolina. And I think they just got fed up with that. Fact that, like, he could go off and he could, you know, he'd be great for my fantasy team, or he could, you know, do terrible and not get open at all and not look like he's trying out there. So
yeah, right. It's just hard to find that median, I feel like, for some coaches, you know. It's like,
is it worth it?
Exactly. I want this guy, like, oh my, I see him, he's the leading receiver on their team, but he's packing a little bit of the beer belly down low, you know? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's the Eddie Lacy factor.
Yeah, look where that went.
Ugh.
But Buffalo, you give up a 4 and a 7 for
a top 15, 20 wide receiver.
Yeah, if they could get him in shape and get him
learning the playbook
and maybe excited about playing football.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great receiver after Sammy Watkins' departure. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think he might fall in love. Whoa, that's our time. So to finish up, he might fall in love with the fan base in Buffalo, because It's Buffalo, New York. There's not much else to do during football season, other than go see Niagara Falls.
You're right. Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I was at a meeting. One of the directors from the Broncos was there. He was talking about Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
One of the worst gross teams, sales revenue in the NFL.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Interesting.
They're one of the lowest market teams. They have one of the worst. Yeah, them and the Browns.
Makes sense.
Yeah, them, the Browns,
I would
and the
think
Bengals.
I would think Buffalo's up top because of how big their fan base is over there.
Yeah, they just don't make a lot of money.
Maybe he knows something we don't know. I don't know. Classic. Great line. That's our show. Thanks for watching. We only got through 2-3 topics today, but there's just so much to talk about in the world of sports. So hopefully we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend, and go Vikes.